Hello, this is Gerald Tuavamas. Letters tend to fall back on a certain structure, almost like a crystal, that it follows these rules, almost like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like in numbers, a very stable way to fall back upon geometry, upon really easy ideas that are automatically followed by our brain as well, like a structure which is already there. And that's why it's also called at certain times the word, because it follows certain order of a structure that makes our mind understand where we are basing ourselves upon, upon which order is actually also a relationship with that structure, gives us also a relationship with that structure that makes it almost like a living entity of communication. We are basing ourselves upon geometry at first, and then of course, like if we move, it's not just geometry, it becomes like a dance, and we dance upon it, and we deal with the gravity, with the directions, all these things. Works in the same way. It's a balance, it's a balanced out system, and all these letters are balanced out. I could provide you a theory, like you have that here at the right with the resume of that structure, how it is followed with the 1, 2, 3 rule into points, directions, or into orientations. And you could base yourself very much upon that. But what I want to do, and it makes it more difficult, and which I think is necessary to do, is to have a more feeling also with that sensitivity towards that structure, so that we also can sense it, that oh yeah, it's logical that we have to deal with that direction, that we have to deal with that point, that we have to have that stable point, or a directing point, a changing point, that we have all these layers also laid out as not just as directions that are theoretically, but we sense them. We also know the words, so we can learn to sense them more and more. And also the structure itself could also not be a rational structure to understand it and to try to figure out what's going on there, but it can also be I don't want to say intuitive structure, but an intelligent structure that we can also learn to interpret, so that we deal also with what we hear and what we recognize in each word. If we hear a sound, we associate it in a certain way, we react to it to a certain way because of its structure, because of its place within its structure. And you can have all this theory memorized again and again and still don't understand anything of it. But of course you have to make some beginning to understand it. If we base ourselves upon words that we know, is still the easiest thing to start from. And range is such a word. I assume that you understand the word range well enough. And then you can also understand not just what, can have attention also to what you hear, so on. Also the frequencies, they have an effect on you. And I will provide in this video some associations that give you an idea how much certain sounds direct you and so on. But let's go and focus upon the range, which is a little bit more difficult word if you would only use your rationality and the theory, because the order of letters is really pushing the boundaries as well, because it's not in the right order. If you have a word that really has close by letters that are in the system very close by, you know very quickly, okay, you with respecting the order, where you will land to if you use this structure. And this structure, the structure underneath, where you have the main focuses of what is before you in direct space, or what is beyond that direct space, beyond yourself, towards what is somewhere else, at another place, at someone else's place, where you need to move to, where you need to adapt to, where you need time for. So after space, time, and then the time-space continue, I would call it, in the background will also have a different kind of thought process, associative process, where in all of these three different regions with one focus to focus or three main focuses that you try to orientate yourselves, they are letters. And I pick out the letters that we need of range, so that is the letter R on top. And these letters on top are about trying to figure out the range of our focus. Means that we have only a certain range that we can perceive. Sometimes the beginning is not seen, the ending is not seen. We have something in between, but we can estimate its behaviors there within contemporary conditions, which we will frame and then make up our definition. So time and space is movable there, and there we have that definition only of behavior. The other letters there are about movements and changes themselves, so we can still follow up the changes and so on into a time frame. There is the E and the N. Or we have only starting points, which are a fixed point, or we try to have them as a fixed point, focusing towards one center, and we find a certain place where the A is, for instance. So let's put the letters, the first few letters here, the first three letters, on top of our scheme, or our basic scheme of 1, 2 or 3 main focuses, without moving anything of the frame itself. And we have already the A, the N and the E. And there you can also already understand some also the word ran can be understood from these positions, but I'm not going to focus upon that word now. And then we have the next letter, which is G, which already puts us away from our main focus, which makes it a bit difficult, because up until where is range, because it's not range. If it's ran, then it would be the letters themselves, but it's also E, so the A and E are together, and then the G is already, until where can I have it? If I have the fixed positions as well, I still have to have the order of the letters or from the word. So I have to make some tricks. Okay, first R, then A, then E. You see, I'm already confused. A and E, I can keep them together. The N, where shall I put it? I have to put it actually after that. So the order of letters I will have to respect, but I also have fixed places in the system, and before I know it, I'm already much further away from where I started. So that makes it difficult if you want to do that rationally. That's what I said. But okay, let's keep everything together. Let's have the N, which you can have in different places repeated. The G, you can also have in different places repeated. But mainly we have to try to keep our focus upon maximum 3 focuses, because otherwise our mind makes it difficult. The theory itself says try to limit yourself up until 3 focuses, because that's the automatic order. Everything within 1, 2, 3, you immediately make a choice, and you can make up where it is. If you add more elements as a background, as a foundation, it won't work so well. So preferably don't do that. But because A is just the number 1, because it's also with numbers underneath it, E is 2, the number 2, I can have the idea of, okay, the A is longer, but I also going to focus on what is different. So into 1 stages, let's say, within 1 goal, 2 stages. That's the A as the letter E. It's 1 goal, number 1, into 1 starting point, into 2 stages in time. In 2 stages in time. So I'll add them already as a helping tool. I'll just build it up like that. I have them repeated, and then I have to make up my order of the word of range. And the E, of course, in the end after the G. But the R comes first, so I have to move everything further. So I'm a bit troubled now that already in my range I have a very wide range. But at least the order of letters is already correct. I'm just building it up. So I have R on top, then A, then N, and the G, and then the E. The G is, and it's as if all these letters are into a certain range as well. So the more you analyze it, the more you also come to the meaningfulness and directions of the word itself. So there's no other way. You always have that you almost like going to do that according to the word. You're going to react according to the word, but I have already a certain range. But the G is almost like I have an option there on top. This is my concept. The three regions actually underneath is space. Up on top is the changes in space, so the timing that you need to go to that change space, and on top is the full range of possibilities, which is also related with the concepts themselves, the whole formula, possibilities of formulas that you can have in every time, in every space, that you can choose that behavior that you can find in at any time or any space. That's the conceptual ground. There we come to it. Until now it's theory. I have already the range of letters. I'm just giving an order to the letter. But what is the rhythm then there in it? What will I focus really upon it? I will define now. So now I come to the concrete analysis. I have the order. I have a certain view upon the order. And the neck and the R itself, which is a starting point, always go to the connection point, and from the connection point goes further and can make a continuation and can keep in that way also that concept of repetition of an idea. That's what the R is about. You define the workable rhythm in R, and then you can work with that rhythm if you have found it, and it makes a connection via A or E, and A is about the starting point. It's a starting point when I have it longer, like with the letter E. I have to continue that starting point for a longer time, so with a certain consistency, a spatial consistency. So I have a spatial consistency where I want to work with to find out which rhythm I have to use in there. That rhythm is associated with E, or is going to look for what is different. What is different in my starting point? What are the differences that I notice in my starting point? I'm going to find the differences. The differences is the definition. That's what the range is also about. It is about noticing a difference. A range is also a difference as a starting point. So that's also correct in that way. With N, it lifts it up from that spatial orientation to a concept that I can use also in a time frame as well, or as a concept. I can use it as a concept with the G involved. The G also starts from spatial reference, but it goes towards the bigger space, the bigger concept. The concept is as well that is where you can have your formula in it. You can have your concept in it. So it is about a concept. In a way, it says it makes a connection to a conceptual formula, which with the last E that you don't pronounce also has a changeable condition. In other words, it's focusing upon a starting point which focuses upon differences within that starting point, but still as one starting point in a conceptual way, so that you can repeat as well. But it's in such a way also with so much differences possible, so that it also has a changeable nature. In other words, a range, this range is never the same. You can have different ranges and so on. So here I made it quite difficult maybe for some people who might have thought in the beginning, what are you saying? But more and more you come with a certain thinking, you think with the letters to understand why these letters are chosen and how this hangs together, and how also a logic hangs together. And this is so now I was already closer to the word, and I gave you also an explanation of it in that way. Of course I can put everything closer to my my main focus, which is the black figure, the first figure. The other person, or what is different, is the second figure. When I start the R further, so it is a rhythm which is already there, a concept which is already there, which is not my concept, it is a general concept with a certain rhythm, where I try to find out my workable foundation of differences as a concept, which results can be different in every application. That's basically what I can read already in the letters. Here said differently, that's the thinking with the letters. So I'm measuring this rhythm or this continuous connection somewhere of directly noticeable changes that can be given a conceptual content as well, directed or uplifted to that general concept of it that endures as long as we need to notice what is its factor of change. These are already more abstract again. But you can reformulate it again and again in the way you understand it by respecting also the order of letters, the positions of letters, and the meaningfulness of these positions. And these formulas, as more as you can repeat them and formulate them differently, you can change them into a normal language and in actually a description of range without actually changing the basics. So we had already range. Let's say, okay, this is a very rough image of range that I had made some time before. But let's go to strange. What will happen if I add strange, the two letters to it? What makes a range strange? It will still be about a range of focus, but it will give it also an extra meaningfulness by S and T. And this meaningfulness I'll try to figure out here with showing you where the S and the T is and where st is about. S in general, I'll just keep it very general now, is the furthest away letter and focus of letters, which has no real start, no real ending, but it has a range of focus, which is at the background, playing on, in a diagonal sense, coming towards us. The reason of that far away is also about the frequencies. It's very sharp frequencies. It's noise in a way. It's noise where we really don't know very well what to do with it. That's our reaction. That's why it is related with sensitivity, because our senses are triggered. And they ask us, so they demand almost the most attention. Or let's have our senses a bit sharpened as well, because we really don't know what's going on. There's too much noise. You don't see the beginning, you don't see the ending, you don't see the objects, you don't see its movements. It triggers attention and full attention towards your experiences in the background. Followed up by T is like just in frequencies, and that's why I said I'm going to have an example with frequencies as well. With the frequencies, you have this noise in the background, which is already scary a little bit, because you don't know where it's going to, where it's from, what it's doing, what is are the changes happening. But with it's as if you have immediately a small opening, as if you have now an attention to space, really. Yeah, you have an abrupt distinction upon space, within space. I want to have it figured out what's going on. I want to have something real in it, a real focus in it. Where am I? Where am I in this situation? With a lot of noise at the background, and the t to it, which a t in general is trying to find a place of orientation, basically, it also will put a halt to a noise very quickly. That's why we also say st, because we want to put a halt to that noise and try to find our main focus of orientation again, that we can orientate ourselves upon something concrete again, because this S is all very far from a concrete direction or concrete objectivity. That's what a st is about. So now st with range to it will also have an influence on that word range. The T, of course, will be on all levels. It just breaks up open space so that you can have your focus on that strangeness. The A with A again will have attention to the differences. What's different? What is different? And where does it bring it? Where will it bring it? For me, to me, with the N. The R, of course, it will first with the R after the st. It will bring us our attention to that attention also for where will it bring us? Because I sense some differences. I sense some differences. How can I work with it as A? How can I work? And where will it bring it to me? It will bring us to a separate area of that concept. What usually was the concept, and what had the association of let's understand where it will bring us. But the S as a starting point will still be there. It gives us also that area, that uplifted area, bigger than ourselves, which we cannot see. It's beyond our vision, which G always says. It's not only the concept beyond everything, it's the whole. It's also a space beyond ourselves that we cannot see. And with these sinister, irregular senses in the beginning, which will linger on, it will give us the idea of, okay, but my starting point, how much is it already different from my starting point? Can I see where the change is? There's something strange, because it puts us already to a different something that has changed. But I don't really know what it is. We don't know what is. It's our attention. It only gives us our attention. We still have that attention there towards the S. That our real starting point of that word is. And that's that lingering on of sensitivity, putting away where we really don't see where it's going to, makes that association with strange. Our perspective is changed because of these conditions. How much was it already different from our starting point? At this point we do not really know. It's just that first idea of strangeness that is of that sinister thing in the background, which is asking our attention actually, or remaining our attention there above in that starting point of S. I hope it was clear enough, because it was a lot of theory, but I also gave you a preview of how you have to use your intelligence in the letters, in the combination of letters, how to combine them. And then again, the intelligence of what is really happening, of attention to the word, what is really happening in the word, what's the order. That we can't rationalize that too much. We have to use intelligence immediately, the attention to what do we sense, what do we hear, what is really there. Just only rationality will not bring you to a video as like this. It's also not intuitive feeling as some might think that this is intuitively what I'm expressing here. No, it is the understanding the word from its perspective of focuses is tapping into a certain intelligence that you have to develop by seeing the things from very different angles at the same time. And this seeing the things from different angles at the same time is something that you have to develop. That's why the second part of the sounding form is also the development of the word. It's not just about the development of how a word is built up. It's also the development how you have to have the sensitivity and intelligence of the word developed. That's why my first books were also about tarot, involved in tarot, and the last chapter of the tarot was about the third arcana, which is combining all the visions from all the different angles, by combining your sensitivities of rationality, of instinctiveness, of not of usual emotional sensitivity as well, and practicality. If you combine all these things, you have different angles upon the same thing. Every situation has a certain degree of development of one of these four angles, and they develop actually intelligences because you can see the things from all different angles at the same time. That's something that needs to be developed. At this time it might be abstract for a lot of people, but I have built it up gradually with these books, first intuitively so that you can get used to it, more and more slightly rationality, like in Changeling of Seasons, but that's more like as if you get the concept but you can't repeat it. But through the development of the word you can learn to gradually adapt to the way of thinking that I have built up to get to that intelligence to understand the words and letters. Thanks again for watching. Bye.